Welcome to the most unreasonable real-time strategy gameplay that I've ever seen. 80 commanders, 80 players loading into the map. The game is beyond all reason. It's absolutely free to play. It's inspired by Total Annihilation, but it will cost you a big chunk of your free time and a whole bunch of your sanity. So before we wade into the madness, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. Help me counter the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Just one more. 1,001 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Last commander standing. There can be up to 32,000 units on the map. Thousands, maybe millions of energy per second. But at the end of the day, all that matters is which team still has commanders and which team does not. Most of these commanders will not survive this battle, including maybe these two. Don't try it. He has the high ground. And your powers are looking mighty impotent. Tries to use the disintegration gun, but might not realize he's facing the only unit that is immune to the D-gun. Another commander. The disintegration gun can one-shot every single unit in the game, from the lowly tick to the massive behemoth. Besides commanders, it can be part of the most risky yet highly rewarding plays. But they're against logic, well, appropriately named. Now, all three factions represented, the Armada, the Cortex, and even the Experimental Legion is enabled. Not quite ready with a full unit roster for competitive multiplayer, but alongside a bunch of the Tier 3 epic plasma cannons and super long-range artillery, which I assume we'll get to after we're busy brawling it out in the mid lane. Against logic is seemingly intent on dying a dramatic death in as early as possible. That tick almost ranked up to max rank before dying. The front line is coalescing across the board. The front line all about putting pressure on the enemy team. Here, there's only a small slice of it to cover for each player. The mid line, usually going to support the front with stronger units, maybe long-range ones, maybe going for more economy. In the back line, usually a little closer to Factorial, building up a massive economy, as Beyond All Reason has exponentially scaling and nearly unlimited economic potential through fancy energy converters, effectively space alchemy. You can start getting near infinite amounts of metal and energy, which you can use to put into whatever units or missiles or aircraft that you like. Well, okay, there's like 450 units in the game. Not whatever you'd like. There's a wide variety, though. So, we see the front line. The energy crystals are not just there for fancy show or for SCVs to eat, but instead they give you energy when consumed, which is one of the core food groups of commanders. That alongside metal, of course. I think it's important, before we get too far into it, to mention the most important part of Bar. Well, not destroying your own commanders to maximize your economy by reclaiming their metal, but instead, the lack of vision. Now, we're going to the player vision here. The map is dark and potentially full of ticks. And this is very important to know, as we're going to be on the observer perspective. Anything that looks obvious to us is not going to be nearly as obvious to the players. That nuclear missile will come out of nowhere. That bombing run will only have seconds to be reacted to. And not knowing is certainly something that can go poorly for you. Oh, but the Herda putting a laser turret on the high ground. I'm gonna go past the front line. A wave of ticks is coming across. We see a stronger push from the blue team down south. Some mosquitoes brawling it out with fighters. Some missile tanks as well on the low ground. It seems like the valley down the center, you can kind of see the indentation. On both sides is where they're drawing the line. Whoa, okay. Commander goes down. Right now, 32 commanders left for the blue team, though some of them self-destructed. A legion of Resbots here repairing the Herda. The highest ranked player on the team, he's just brawling it out. The Resbots are enough to keep him intact, and the enemy commanders aren't targeting them. Him and his posse of Lazarus Resbots so far doing a great job of helping him push through. But reinforcements are on the way for the blue team. The tanks getting all sorts of jammed up. They will potentially get tripped up not only on each other, but on the wreckage of both friendly and enemy tanks, which are parts of the field, and also can be reclaimed for metal. In fact, that's one of the most interesting and important parts of the game, is the ability to reclaim the wreckage of the enemy in order to further your own economy. And that's sometimes why being on the front line is more lucrative than being at the back. Of course, it's a little more risky as well. A Tsar on the back. Our first tier 2 units, you gotta be careful. A lot of friendly fire is coming out. He's trying to deal with the Tsar, but the Tsar will deal with the commander first. That very heavy assault tank. Tier 2 units across the board is starting to become a factor. Tier 2, a significant jump in metal. So it takes a while to get there. But I think some of those midline players have been helping out a lot when it comes to that. Red pushing through to the north. We see blue having more success on the south, drawing fire from the laser tanks with the ticks and then pushing forward with the rocket bots. Let's see if we can get a bit of a cinematic drive through here. Honestly, I feel like after casting and observing other RTS games, nothing has ever compared with Bar. And the engine in the ability to observe the carnage of the battlefield. But also, it's a whole skill in and of itself, so I do my best. But and here we see the commander in its natural habitat, building thousands of laser turrets. Rocket bots on either side. Some Centurions marching forward. One of the strongest tier 1 units looking for a commander. Not gonna find it with the missile tanks on the other side. The napalm of the Legion coating the field to the north. As things clearly getting quite hot and heavy. Both sides with artillery on the high ground. Another commander going down to the north. As at this stage, with the huge economies on the back line, I would imagine there are some, between atomic bombers and tier 2 artillery, as well as just being caught out, the commanders are surprisingly vulnerable. They don't get stronger over time. They can rank up a bit, which I believe gives them some more HP, but we've reached the end of the line for now. Just pulling back a bit as the gap's being filled in. The circuit board that is mid to late game Bar coming online. And now, just taking a look across the field. Overall, the energy production, you can see it in the top right, the combined amounts. We have 21.5 thousand energy per second on the blue team, 15,000 on red. But as we get to the mid, some of the ticks making it by. Mid and later game, the advanced fusion reactor, which we'll see more than a few of, is worth 3,000 on its own. So far, the disparity is minimal, but it wouldn't be surprising to see a disparity of tens, if not even over 100,000. I don't know if we'll get to hundreds of thousands. At that point, I think the game isn't... Wow, these ticks are still going. There's nothing to contest them. The Factorio players back here, busy building their late-game fusion reactors, may be slowed down significantly by 4 tiny ticks. These things 17 metal apiece. The fusion reactor is 9,700. Now, they are unlikely to take down the fusion reactor with their level of damage. But if they take out the construction turrets, which are used to help put things together extra quickly, that certainly could help. Ooh, bull tanks, but a D-gun whipped out, takes out 3 of them. Launch has to dip back. I think that's a naturally formed crater, not something from a commander dying, because otherwise we'd see the gravestone there. But the tank is finally taken out. Support big boy. Fat boy is the technical term. All right. Let's just be accurate here. Some of the pawns coming through. To be very incredibly and importantly clear, there is no such thing as friendly fire. What I mean by that is all damage, all projectiles can just as easily hit your allies as your enemies. It's just whoever gets in the way. Your units will, for the most part, attempt to aim at the enemies, but if it's just a single tick they're chasing down as they run past the back line, well, they will diligently fire their massive artillery cannon directly at it, not caring about what else they could hit. There are plenty of methods for directing your fire, but especially in a game of this scale and this variation of skill levels, it's a lot to ask. The exchanges continuing to happen. Neither side seems to have a decisive advantage when it comes to the midline. I think the blue team in general has more energy, has managed to make more progress. Let's see what their unit count is if we go to the player count. 3,700 versus 3,400 in total. Buildings are also counted as units as well. That includes all the wind turbines. Doesn't factor in like a juggernaut or a fusion reactor. Those are still just one. There is no supply. Every unit in building is one supply. All right. Artillery starting to dot the high ground. Spiders climbing over. Spider-based units can climb up any terrain. There is no water here, so nothing to be concerned about. Another commander goes down as the blue team makes more progress down the center. The last bastion of defense from the Legion now starting to crumble. And what are these? Oh, we got some Decurion assault tanks. Mosquitoes trying to defend. Long-range rocket bots blasted through. But the blue team is making significant progress down the center. The Herta is forced back even further. His economy looking very, I don't actually know if he has any economy. Is this his base? It's not looking great. The tanks are getting closer. And a lot of fragile buildings are very nearby. Another commander falls. 31 to 32. The blue team still was slightly less, and the red team has actually taken a slight lead economically, or at least in terms of energy. I believe blue has access to more metal extractors. The spiders doing a great job on the high ground, controlling it. But we see through the center, the blue team is not stopping. A Phoenix strafing the ground. But the tier 1 tanks are moving through. Phoenix is taken down. And the blue team's push continues. There doesn't seem to be anything to really stop this. This could easily spiral out of control. Artillery tanks coming over the hill, and a lot of the economy will be vulnerable if that's the case. The hill has been crested. It sounded a lot more dramatic in my head. It's still dramatic. The Phoenix will melt through it. A great defense, but also very dangerous to nearby friendly units, like many of the Legion's offerings. Just gotta be very careful. Fighters moving forward. Another commander. Yes, another commander taken down. Some of the welders behind. Gunslinger versus welder. Armada on armada. But it depends on what side you're fighting for. Another commander taken down. 31 to 29 now. Still in favor of the red team. But the blue team has been macroing hard back at home. I hope we get an opportunity. Well, all right, let's take a quick opportunity to look at the Factorio zones. You can see the advanced fusion and the fusion she tells you not to worry about. Or the other way around, really. The basic fusion is worth 1,000 energy. The advanced fusion, 3,000. Wind turbines, based on the speed of wind on the map. On this map, an average of 11, so pretty good. But it's all about those advanced fusion cores in order to get the maximum economy. So we see it coming together on the back line. More aphysis for short, though I always feel weird saying it out loud. It's a weird word. Acronym. The red team, plenty of their own as well. Continuing the progression forward. More missiles flung out from the artillery bots. I don't think they're called they're just rockets. Oh, negotiators. The negotiations quite long range and incredibly violent, but I guess technically. Oh, some vanguards have hit the field. A mobile, kind of plasma cannon. Also a spider, so it can climb on the edges of the cliffs and hills and find that perfect angle to really ruin your day. Another volley of rocket bots. The no man's land, well, the no bots land down the center starting to come together as the range of both army compositions is making it almost impossible to traverse without a whole helping of support. The blue team has made significant progress, but the energy production is dead even. 140 apiece. Another push. Looks like a commander. Dangerously close to the artillery when it exploded. There's a Cerberus geothermal plasma battery in the little tucked-in geothermal area. Very helpful, but I think that may have been friendly fire from the Cerberus. Based on that angle, sorry. Oh, no. It's a disaster. And now the blue team is pushing forward, but a wave of mosquitoes will try to sting the high ground, which Soceris has claimed throughout the game, but finally will be taken down, and with it, the high ground is eliminated. Any artillery, any static defense up there has now been destroyed. But a massive push of Tier 3. Razorbacks leading the charge, Vanguards following it up, and Marauders are sprinting through. One of the fastest Tier 3, if not the fastest Tier 3 unit. Another commander is taken down, and what's here on defense? A couple Tsars? They have good damage, but they could easily get surrounded, flanked for that extra damage. Another commander. And now, finally, the blue team is taking the commander lead at 29 to 23. Harry Potter. You're a D-gun, Harry. Well, now you're a dead gun. I don't think there's a spell you can cast to come back from that. Well, technically you can resurrect, but that's looking unlikely at this point. As the Marauders work around the north side of the map, and there's barely anything but a few... No, those aren't even grunts. Those are just... They're trying to reclaim them. They're trying. Those are just construction bots, effectively, that were trying to reclaim units, which is possible, but not practical. Muppets getting in the way. The D-gun lines up a shot. 3, 4 kills. And he might actually be able to save the fusion. Muppets with the save. A massive play, but not enough. Another fusion goes down and takes with it the entire neighborhood. The Marauders continue to rally forward, and a big hit on the economy. Trying to target those fusions. A Shiva's in the way, going for the back line. Drake, no! What have you done? Oh no, it's so... Ah, the ticks! 4%! But yeah, that'll do it. Alright, more Marauders coming in. We've neglected the rest of the lines. It looks like they've held, for the most part, across the board. But now Blue has opened up a massive lead to the north. And is streaming through the gap. I want to do a once through again. We'll take a look at the front line a little closer on. Heat tanks. More rocket bots. The no man's land. Just so much artillery. Catapults. Bulwarks. Sheldons. Pulsars. Ticks overrunning the field. The chaff in front. The reason to spam. The sumos waddling forward. Actually, what is that? Oh, the stronghold gunship / heavy transport. Dragons have arrived. Oh, a pawn launcher! Firing it off. The pawns are being launched in. And they will hit the shield and bounce out. But the pawn launcher hand delivers those pawns across the map. Well, not hand delivers. That yeets them across the entire map. That's not really... Meanwhile, another wave of Marauders crushing forward. Some of the tanks moving in to intercept, but a lot of the infrastructure is vulnerable here. An experimental gantry, and the blue team just keeps crushing through. The dragons moving to deal with this. Some of the sharpshooters holding their super blaster pistols that can do significant damage to tier 3 units. But again, the blue team continues to stream through the gap. They've opened up a 25k energy lead. They clearly have a higher percentage of the map so far. The south has held for now, but at what cost? We see the Sheldons, but there's so many ticks drawing fire. Random variable just chilling. He's cloaked. I'm pretty sure because this is a slight... There shouldn't be any radar. Yeah, he's not spotted on radar. Cloaked, waiting, just in case something valuable comes by. But those Sheldons are going to be overrun by ticks. A big push to the south. The blue team has not yet broken through there. Pawn launchers to the back line! Oh no! A Razorback comes out. The pawn launcher is actually completely circumventing. But they're not quite able. They're getting reclaimed by an entire bank. Eat. Eat. It is a valid tactic, especially against tier 1 units like pawns. You can reclaim them. Essentially, you deconstruct them while they're still alive. Which I hope is painful, but I don't think pawns are capable of simulating pain. Well... The pushback. The red team, if they're going to push back, it's got to be to the south. Another pawn launcher actually bouncing off the plasma deflector shield into the back line, extending the range and scattering the pawns throughout. It's working perfectly. They need to get some shields on the back, otherwise it could spell disaster. The pawn launchers across the board. It seems like the construction turrets are reclaiming the pawns. They will automatically do so if they're in range. And minimizing the damage. But if they coordinate a little bit better. But, oh, a huge push! A legion of grunts, and the grunts with the legion. Pawns as well added in. Trying to break through the lines. Sharpshooters and Sheldons, and artillery as well. A massive push through the center. But the red team, I think they're going to hold the line. EMP launcher comes in. That's a little late. More rockets on the high ground. The pawn launches continue until morale improves. I haven't seen any nukes yet, but anti-nuke is available, and it's relatively... I'm sure both teams have been very adamant about anti-nuke. Some tactical nuke launchers, which cannot be dodged, are closer to the front line, but they are severely limited by range. Things have stabilized somewhat, but the blue team has clearly found more space. 350,000 energy. Another wave of pawns. But it's just... they're trickling in. A big push building up towards the center. I'm surprised we also haven't seen any super long... Oh. Ragnarok is online. Well, in like 13 minutes at this rate. They're definitely going to need a lot more build power. A wave of fighters over the top. A volley of EMPs. And that one actually lands across the entire front line, but a laundry line of grunts is not going to be enough to break through if anything is still ready. The pulsars from either side. Pawn launchers still being attempted. Aiming a little closer to the front line, which actually is finding a lot more success. Breaking down the wind turbines and such. But... oh, wait, what is... Titans! But the Titans look like they will fall without finding much progress. A push of Titans, the strongest Armada Tier 3 unit. Well, they found some success. Also explode when they're destroyed. Even larger explosion if they self-destruct. But, you know, we've all felt like that on a bad day. Matt Blader pushing back with waves of pawns alongside his gantry. Oh no, the deflector shield into the... oh no, a disaster. The deflection into the wind farm just wipes out the economy. I mean, a wind farm at this stage, not that meaningful, but it still would be nice to have, as opposed to having exploded. The commander count now 28 to 24 in favor of the blue team. The Dragons are holding the chaff quite well. A quick look at the economic backbone. Oh, the pawns! The pawns being deflected off the shield! The pawns are scattered everywhere. We'll just have to see if any of them are able to get... oh my. Can they even land back here? Look at this beautiful setup. Sorry, I was so distracted. The pawns blocked. If it hits the right angle, the shields will actually straight up block. But if the pawn launcher is at the correct angle, you could just deflect it as opposed to stopping it. And that's what these players... I think they're aiming behind the shield instead of at it. And using it as a massive range. Oh my. So the impact doesn't do much damage, if any, itself. But the pawns being there at all. Oh, a big push. Coming through the center. The pawn launchers, it feels like there's not a direct answer to them. Some of them are breaking through. Oh! Oh! Finally! I'm not sure what broke it, but the pawns certainly did their work. And enough pawns can take down a queen, or even a commander. Demons unleashing fire on the front line, but very squishy overall. The Thors are here to burn through them. Titans to the north side. We're pushed with Prometheus heavy laser tanks. Heavy heat ray tanks. There's actually a difference between lasers and heat rays, and I don't actually know how it works, but they're a different sort of weapon. More pawns deflecting across the board. as the blue team. There are 11,000 units on the field. And I don't think that's the cap yet. As both sides struggling to maintain a foothold. Pawn launchers again. The blue team with a clear momentum advantage. A clear economic advantage. But there is still enough opportunity. It's hard to turn these around. All right, there's dozens of players, not just a couple. There's only so much you can do yourself, but... Nuke! Oh no. That's not gonna help. At some point, the anti-nuke was taken down. The nuke lands on the front line, but dragons will push back down the center. Fighters try to intercept. Several of the dragons gonna be brought down. Flying flagships, the Black Hydra, is online. The fighters are chasing the dragons back to their homeland. And, well, blue team will hold across the board. Plasma cannons have been set up. I'm surprised we don't see a starfall yet. The Legion, long-range artillery. So, oh, nuke! Wait. It hits? Was that a nuke? Something. Either way, it worked out just fine. A fusion went down. It doesn't look like it affected the overall energy output that much. But, well, the blue team still holding. What are those? Martyrs. They are like they're suicide bombers here. The kamikaze run will begin. He's targeted them on the Titans down the front line. And just diving into them. Takes down multiple Titans, but there's another wave behind. The Hydra's trying to hold, unleashing everything they can, rotating through half a dozen different weapons. The dragons strafing the front, burninating across the countryside. But are the flagships enough to hold? I think not. Oh, what is this? More nukes knocked out of the sky by the interceptors. A wave of EMP launchers will fire across the board. Some of the pawns are being deflected off the map. The front line is holding, but only just. You see so many. Praetorian. The grunts. The Titans. A juggernaut is on the field. Multiple juggernauts now. A Titan right next to it. Don't talk to me or my sons ever again. The Juggernaut, a much more difficult unit to take down, but also much more expensive, appropriately so. Attack down the center. The blue team making a lot of progress. The assimilators not going to be able to hold for now. The dragons are starting to break. Multiple fusions in position. A nuke to the north side. Or a juggernaut being taken down, which is effectively the same thing. An attempt at resignation from some of the red team. Helped along by a massive chain reaction. Wow. And now just all he can do is draw. The blue team demonstrating what happened here. Some more nukes coming out. The pawn launchers finding a lot of success. Blue team is now up 600k to 470,000 energy per second. They've got 4,000 to 5,000 more metal per second. They've breached the gap and are driving through the back line. And from there, it's easy to just isolate and cut through. The plasma cannons on the high ground. The tier 3 units. Still 11,000 units on the field, but I fear the majority on one side. A legion, the pod launchers. Oh no, the pods are getting everywhere. And even if you take them out, some of the friendly fire might be more damage. In fact, it's almost certain it's going to be more damage because those are pods. There's a conspicuous gap in the shields. Another wave, some more chain reactions. Very, very vulnerable. The Ragnarok is finally online to the south, is firing back across for the red team. But it may be too little, and it may be far too late. Shoring up the defenses. Yeah, that Ragnarok cannon is everything right now. They needed to do critical damage. Another hit to the north. It's starting to bounce out some of the shields, but attacking into the front line is a fool's errand. Units can be replaced. The economy is a lot more difficult. The pod launchers, oh no. The Titans are closing inside the shields. And with it, taintiest advanced feat. And there we go. The Titans cut through the fusions, and with it, amputate yet another chunk of the economy. Right now, the red team is living on a prayer that somebody will accidentally self-destruct one of the fusions in the back line of the blue, because otherwise it seems incredibly unlikely. They're struggling to find space to put more pawn launchers and other top-tier weapons. The blue team, all but decided as the victors. More plasma cannons. The pawn launchers. I think they learned. We've seen plasma cannons be very effective. But the pawn launchers and the ability to get units behind the lines using the deflector shields as range extenders, making them work for you instead of working against them. The pawn launchers were the play. Both sides have them, but I think the blue team figured it out quicker. And the breakthrough to the north with the tier 3 was the key that unlocked a potential victory. Another wave taken out. Thankfully, they didn't resign, so we get to enjoy the dismantling of the red base. The launchers overwhelming the Karganiths on the high ground. Some of the blue team actually sneaking by. We've got some epic pawns, which are huge pawns. These ones did not get launched in. They didn't need to be a fusion. And there goes the neighborhood. didn't quite chain throughout the rest. But the last bastion of the red team as blue closes in. Oh, it's the epic lich, the atomic bomb, but it might just land. Oh no. The pawn, it's outside. It doesn't matter, there it goes! A critical hit. The back line is shattered. What are you building here? Advanced fusion. And there's only 6 commanders left. Looks like they'll fight until the bitter, I'm sure, bitter end. But up to, I think we saw, oh, a mass of nukes intercepted. They had enough for now. The flagships are closing in on the final shields. The pawns continue to rain down. The metropolis of the blue team. Are they going to resign in shame or fight to the last? I don't think they're going to have much of a choice. Another wave. The epic Tyrannus. Here comes a lich. Laugh to death. Oh, they're self-destructing the fusion. Where is the last commander? 3 commanders remain. 1 commanders remain. Basco, the honor of being the last commander standing. But the blue team will be your victors. You got a cloak? Okay, this is that's a bit. Here comes the neighbor. So that's how it ends. So that's how it ends. Victor destroying enemy units and structures. I believe he was on the red team. Efficient use of resource to high you. The traitor, Ashley. Zorex with destroying the most resources. Warning, this is going to be painful to look at. In terms of statistics, the red team actually did more damage, but the blue team received 7 million more. The red team killed 17,000 units, but lost 21. In fact, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know how exactly we're counting it. But the production, the combined actions per minute, 1.3 thousand approximately for each team. But at the end of the day, the blue team achieves victory through a concerted effort, a combined arms set. A lot of air, the ground was held, the pawn launchers, a genius move that I think a couple people did and then everyone else picked up on it. But a good old-fashioned tier 3 push to open things up. So, well, hopefully, if the game just keeps going, they keep going about whatever actions they had. But hopefully, you enjoyed. Let me know what you'd like to see next from Beyond All Reason or in general. And if you haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. And if you have the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But either way, I hope I made your day just a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay unreasonable.